Hello everyone, and welcome to Pulp Crazy. I'm Jason Aiken. In this episode, I will be continuing the supernatural theme of episodes in honor of Halloween approaching. I will be discussing The Return of the Sorcerer by Clark Ashton Smith. It first appeared in the September 1931 issue of Strange Tales of Mystery and Terror, which was the magazine's first issue. The magazine would be published from September 1931 through January 1933, and would only publish 7 issues in all. Atlas Comics, which would eventually evolve into Marvel Comics, would later launch a comic book anthology titled Strange Tales in the 1950s. The naming of the comic is most likely in honor of the original Pulp anthology magazine. Return of the Sorcerer is set in 1930s Oakland, California. The story focuses on Mr. Ogden, a secretary proficient in the Arabic tongue and language, who was hired by a scholarly recluse named John Carnby. Carnby offers Ogden the job, but Ogden must live with Carnby due to the unusual hours. Ogden agrees. It turns out Carnby is an occultist and wants Ogden to translate none other than passages from the Necronomicon, an original version in Arabic by the mad Arab Abdul al-Zared has come into Carnby's possession, and he requires someone fluent in the language to translate the passages. He does mention his brother, Hellman Carnby, used to help him in his studies, but he no longer lives at the house. He apparently has gone away on what Carnby calls a long trip. Needless to say, this has not become a straightforward task. The Carnby house has secrets that begin to rise to the surface during Ogden's stay. I read this story in an anthology titled The Return of the Sorcerer, the Best of Clark Ashton Smith, edited by Robert Weinberg. I quite enjoyed it, even though the cover image really doesn't have anything to do with this story in particular. It's still a pretty cool painting, and I chose to include it on the title card for this episode. The collection also includes an introduction by Gene Wolfe that gives some nice background details on Smith. I picked up 2 interesting facts that I didn't know before. 1, that Smith was a womanizer, and 2, it appears he began writing during the stock market crash, and ceased towards the end of the Great Depression. Wolfe postulates Smith may have been dependent on inherited dividends from the stock market for income, and when the stock market crashed, he needed a way to support himself until the market recovered. I thought this was very interesting stuff. As for the story itself, I went into it without knowing anything about it. For some reason, most likely the cover, I figured this would be more of a sword and sorcery type of setting, or at least set in medieval times. I was quite surprised to see it set on the West Coast during the 1930s. I was also pleasantly surprised to see H.P. Lovecraft's Necronomicon play a pivotal role in the story, thus tying this to Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos. Smith and Lovecraft were friends, and wrote back and forth a good bit. Smith, Lovecraft, and Robert E. Howard were the 3 main members of the Lovecraft Circle, and would include elements from each other's works in their stories. After reading this, I am really looking forward to reading more Clark Ashton Smith. I've read a lot of Robert E. Howard and a little bit of H.P. Lovecraft, but this was my first exposure to Smith. I'm especially interested in reading his Hyperborea and Zothic stories. Return of the Sorcerer can be read online for free at eldritchdark.com, a Clark Ashton Smith tribute site that has the text up. I was not able to find it online in an ebook format, however. Amazon does have a Kindle version of the collection that I mentioned, and it's only around $6. That's a pretty good price. And I did find a link on Google to a playlist that has a suspense radio drama adaptation that's available to listen to for free. It's not word for word, but it's pretty close. I will include these links in the show notes, as well as a link to a Clark Ashton Smith podcast called The Double Shadow. That's it for this week's episode. Thanks for watching. Pulp Crazy is located at pulpcrazy.com. I'm at Pulp Crazy on Twitter and facebook.com/pulpcrazy. Please like, follow, or subscribe to me on YouTube if you enjoy the show. You can also email me with feedback at pulpcrazy@gmail.com. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.